Yaël Ossowski from the Consumer Choice Center with us. All right, Yaël, there's a couple of topics I want to get to with you here this morning, but I know one item that you wanted to address, and we hear it about all the time here in our country, how everything just gets tied up in the courts. And I caught an interview with one of our Supreme Court Justices, Neil Gorsuch, and he was talking about just the countless amount of cases that are seen through our judicial system, millions and millions of cases every year, and like a very, very small percentage, of course, gets up to the highest court in our country. The way in which we can just pretty much hire a lawyer to do anything at any time, and that attorney is going to sue, and touch me and I'll sue, and that's kind of the way in which the world operates today. Is that fresh on your mind here this morning?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And certainly when I became an American citizen and I was at my citizenship ceremony, the guy who was heading the ceremony says, the one thing you need to know about America is if you got the money, then we in the American government, we got the time. And that's exactly what we've seen with a lot of the legal system. I mean, it's insane the amount of lawsuits that we're seeing each and every day. And if anyone has turned on the television lately, basically everything is just an advertisement for some huge lawsuit against Banana Republic, Johnson & Johnson, you name the company, whatever the issue might have been, whether it's hot coffee, maybe your receipt wasn't rounded up enough. I mean, there's so many bogus lawsuits out there. And I think that's the biggest problem that a lot of people are having is all these lawsuits are put out by many very lucrative firms. These are lawyers who basically do this full time. The term that we've used in the past is ambulance chasers. But we have people who are they've created this entire shadow part of the economy that's worth in North Carolina something around $350 million of just huge bogus lawsuits. Some examples that have been in the news lately, we had the one from Johnson & Johnson about the opioid epidemic. Here's a company that makes something like 0.1% of all opioids, but apparently this is the number one enemy, and thankfully now in Oklahoma they're now going to have something like $500 million added to their budget and to the trial lawyers, and we know how well they're going to spend that. That's one example. Another one is with the Roundup. Some of your listeners have definitely heard of that. It's been deemed safe by basically every single large scientific body in the world. Yet, when it's brought into a court case, then all of a sudden it's deemed to be carcinogenic, and then there's a huge payout that goes up to one couple, and now there's hundreds of lawsuits that are coming down the pike. So this is kind of the issue that we've been looking at the Consumer Choice Center. Is there's a lot of issues with our legal system, with the lawsuits that are put out there, and it is costing ordinary people. And it's costing us not just with the prices that we pay, but look, everything has to then be funneled into the courts. All these companies then have to build up their legal departments. They need to raise their prices. I mean, this is not really helping anyone. No doubt there are terrible, bad actors out there, and we need the legal system to go after them. But the bogus lawsuits that any of your listeners might have seen on TV or coming through, or they're asking you to call in, be a part of this lawsuit, I mean, it's gotten to the level of insanity.
Well, with that said, Yaël, at the end of the day, as you kind of hinted at, we know that attorneys and lawyers are making a pretty good penny doing this for a living. With that said, for most people and those who do have legitimate cases that they want to bring to the courts, at the end, are they getting what they expect? Not as far as monetary, payouts, but at the end of the day, they're just looking to get their fair shake. They're looking for justice. Does that end up being the case for many of these individuals who sign up or join in on many of the lawsuits that are being driven by, kind of high-priced attorneys that don't take anything until, they win out on a big suit? And in many cases, this goes on for months and in some cases, years.
Yeah, and I think for some of the bigger cases that have made the headlines, the lawyers end up making out with, sometimes 25% of the entire settlement. And the people who originally launched the lawsuit don't really get that. Because again, you have to think they've been taking out loans for years to be able to pay for the lawyers. It's taken time for all the court costs as well. So there are some cases where people have been able to get justice, but many times it's been caught up in this system and in this huge wheel. And for every just case that there is out there, a legitimate grievance that someone might have, there's even more that are way bogus. And it's just, look, this is our legal system. This is everyone's to use, and it's the way that we're able to adjudicate justice. And if 10 lawsuits are up there that are bogus, and you're up there with your one, are you really getting a fair shake? And are you really able to make sure that your claims are heard? And I think that's another issue. I hope a lot of people pay attention to this. In North Carolina, it's actually gotten much worse in the last few years. North Carolina used to be 7th in the nation in terms of the best system for adjudicating justice and no bogus lawsuits. Now North Carolina is 33. So things have gotten much worse. There's definitely ways that we can improve. We need some very good legal reform. Be sure we can kind of cap a lot of these payments. Be sure that the right people are named, that we're not just naming false people. And let's actually bring some legitimate evidence into the courtroom. I think that's really the best way that people are going to benefit. Definitely you or I, whenever we go to purchase products or invest in anything, we want to make sure that we're paying the right price as well. And we all want access to our legitimate judicial system. So if we can uphold that, I think that will make everyone better off, no doubt.
Yaël Ossowski with us from the Consumer Choice Center, and commenting on something that has been in the news lately. And if you just drive down Market Street or any highway in our area or state or around the country, those personal injury lawyers, they're just happy to post billboards up there to keep that in your mind. Hey, trip over the sidewalk over there. Well, give us a call and we'll make sure that you get paid out the proper way. Yaël Ossowski with us again from the Consumer Choice Center. We're going to take a time out. We're 15 till the top of the hour.